I am Senator Roxanne Prasad, co-chair of the Human Services and Labor Subcommittee. I'm honored to chair this subcommittee with my colleague, Assemblymember Andrew Hevesy. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the following members of the subcommittee on the Senate side. Senator Jabari Brisport, Senator Jessica Scarcella-Spanton, Senator Stephen Rhodes, and Senator Jessica Ramos will be here shortly. I'll now turn it over to Assemblymember Hevesy to introduce his members.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it. I am joined today by Chair of the Labor Committee, Bronson, Assemblymember Bronson, Chair of the Social Services Committee, Mr. Villa. I have Assembly Member Zinnerman, Assemblymember Berger, Assemblymember Carroll, and two of my colleagues from the minority, Assemblymember Brian Marr, who's the ranker on Children and Families, and a new member, Assemblymember Molitor. Welcome, sir.
Okay, the Senate and the Assembly will designate secretary for the purpose of taking minutes for this meeting, and the Senate designates Dennis Weekly as our secretary.
Yep.
Assemblymember?
Absolutely. And the Assembly designates Joe Lincheski. Did I pronounce that right? Good, good enough.
Okay, and now we will call on our members to give two remarks. They each have 2 minutes to give their remarks. I will start with Senator Jabari Brisport.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here. I'm State Senator Jabari Brisport. I chair the Committee on Children and Families. I think both the Senate and Assembly One House proposals create many good improvements upon the executive proposal for our state budget. I would specifically like to highlight some additions in childcare, the Senate's $500 million for workforce in the Senate One House, and also the Assembly's $212.5 million to preserve childcare slots. We've been hearing for a while the crisis in childcare with multiple workers not being able to stay in the field because of the poverty wages. And right now, New York City is sounding the alarm about the potential cuts to childcare slots if we do not act on their budgetary needs. And we're also hearing that from additional counties now. So I hope to see both of these, both funding for the workforce and the childcare slots in the final enacted budget.
Thank you, Senator. We've been joined by Senator Ramos. And before I turn it over to Assemblymember Hevesy, I just want to remind everyone that at the agencies at this table are the Department of Civil Services, Office of Employee Relations, Division of Human Rights, Workers' Compensation Board, Office of the Welfare Inspector General, Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, Department of Labor, Office of Children and Family Services, Division of Veteran Services, and the Public Employment Relations Board. Assemblymember?
Thank you, Chair. Harry Bronson, Chair of Labor and representing the Greater Rochester area. Happy to be here. I agree with the senator who just spoke that we have some proposals in both the Assembly One House and the Senate One House that builds on the governor's proposal. I'd like to highlight a few items that are, I think, vitally important that are included in the final budget, and that is we are at a moment of time. We have an employee worker shortage. Our employers need more workers. And we have individuals who have been marginalized and are on the sidelines of the economy for far too long. This is our opportunity to bring those folks into the economy, into the workforce, so that they can provide for themselves and provide for their families. So that's why I'm particularly excited that we have funding in there for pre-apprenticeship programs and apprenticeship programs that are intentional in reaching out to marginalized communities to bring them into the workforce. I also want to highlight Labor Law 224A. This is something that we negotiated in the budget a number of years ago that set a threshold under the principle that if taxpayer dollars are used to subsidize private contract work, then it should be prevailing wage. What we negotiated a number of years ago simply is not working. So in the Assembly proposal, we have a revision on the covered projects that would be included for prevailing wage work in the construction industry. And we're hopeful that the Senate and the governor will join us on that. Also, we have a proposal, an unemployment insurance proposal. We have borrowed a significant amount of money from the federal government. We still owe around $6.5 billion to the federal government. Unfortunately, while that debt is out there, we can't raise unemployment insurance benefits. And currently, at $504 maximum level weekly benefit, that is less than somebody earning minimum wage working a 40-hour work week. Simply is not acceptable. So we need to pay off this debt, which will help small businesses so that we can raise the benefit. If we followed the statute that was put on hold, the current weekly benefit would be $860 a week. So we need to do that. Also, we need to do that because if the economy does another downturn, then we're going to have to borrow again. If we have this debt, we borrow again, we can't take advantage of a 2-year interest-free loan. If we pay it down and then we still have to borrow again, then we get an interest-free loan for 2 years. Lastly, $34 billion in reserves. Other states used ARPA federal money to pay down the UI debt. We instead put it in our reserves. So if we use $7 billion to pay down this debt, we're still going to have a $27 billion reserve, over a 10% reserve. That is substantial. So I ask the Senate and the governor to join us on this. My last thing, one of my highest priorities, HIV housing for people living with HIV, living in poverty. The only social service districts that have opted into that program are in New York City. That means people living in poverty with HIV outside of the city are not getting housing and other services that they desperately need. If they don't have housing, they don't stay on their medication. If you don't stay on your medication with HIV, you die. You die. If you stay on your medication, then you can get undetectable, stay healthy for yourself, and if you're undetectable, that means you cannot transmit the virus to somebody else. This is the way we end the HIV epidemic. $3 million, slightly over $3 million for the first year. We should be investing in that. It's important that all of our folks throughout the state have access to housing, and this particular population needs it because it's life or death. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Scarcella-Spanton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Jessica Scarcella-Spanton. I chair Veterans, Homeland Security, and Military Affairs. I am really proud of the work that me and my colleagues have done to invest in our families across New York State, most particularly our veterans as well. While there's always more to do, we have invested in legal funds for veterans. We had invested in job programs for veterans who are transitioning out of military service, not so much in here, but also in veterans' mental health. There's so much that we need to do for housing and things of that nature, but I think that we show our commitment to military families, especially our Gold Star families as well. And I wanted to also point out that this year, outside of just veterans, we have invested in the Sunrise Day Camp, which services 3 boroughs across New York City, and this is for children with cancer. So something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm proud of the budget that we've put together. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember?
Assemblymember Zinnerman, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you, chairs. I'm New York State Assembly Member Stephanie Zinnerman from the 56th District, and I serve as the chair of the Subcommittee on Emerging Workforce. As such, I'm very excited with the investments that we have made this year in this year's budget, especially for youth development, career pathways, our after-school programs. Those of you who are here know how important our SYEP programs are to us, and to families throughout the state of New York. I'm really excited about the $100 million in LEAP funding as well, because that is going to ensure that we have more young people who have the opportunity to work with small businesses and not-for-profits in our community to do the vital work that help us all thrive. As we continue to look on the higher education level, certainly the Attain Labs receiving funding is something that I continue to support as well. And we want to make sure our young people are also healthy, so investment in youth sports and other recreational programs are very, very important. Last but not least, you all know that I am a big supporter of our elders and older adults in the state of New York, many of which who care for the youngest of our New York State citizens. So very happy that we have restored money for the kinship programs, and we need to continue to do so. So thank you, and we look forward to passing a wonderful budget this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Rhodes? Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to congratulate the Assembly and Chairman Bronson on their decision with respect to the UI fund and paying down the UI debt. As you correctly note, we are one of, I believe, very few states, perhaps one of two states, that instead of using ARPA funds to actually pay down the UI debt to the federal government, we put that burden on our businesses. And as a state with the second worst business climate in the country, according to Forbes magazine, when we're relying on these businesses for economic growth and job creation, paying down the UI debt as we should have in the first place, rather than putting that burden on businesses, is a tremendous step in the right direction. So thank you for including that in the Assembly budget. I did want to mention, obviously, the safety of our workers is of primary concern, as well as their access to health care. Specifically with respect to safety, while both houses agreed on a $1 billion budget for the Department of Labor, which we certainly agree with, I must express my disappointment in Commissioner Reardon's testimony with respect to her abdication of responsibility for what's happening in our correction centers and their refusal or to look at safety concerns that are ongoing in the jail. We're at the heart of the labor dispute that we witnessed over the last several weeks. And I wish that there would be some sort of pressure put on the Department of Labor to actually take a look at conditions in the jail and protect the safety of those workers as well. With respect to access to benefits, I do note that in 3005, Part BB and Part DD, there were two proposals from the governor that were removed on the Senate and Assembly side. One was allowing medical providers to treat compensation patients regardless of their coding. Part DD was to have health insurance carriers as the primary payer in cases where there was a dispute so that you could provide access to coverage. That access, both well-intentioned proposals, but bad policy. With respect to Part BB, I would suggest, as we take a look, we have two bills, S304 as well as S306. S304 would address the medical treatment guidelines, which would use the medical treatment guidelines as a floor, not a ceiling, and by a simple change would allow more access for workers to be able to receive the coverage they need without it being automatically in dispute simply because it doesn't meet the medical treatment guidelines, which was not the intent in the first place. And with respect to S306, it would allow non-network pharmacies to actually provide coverage as long as the reimbursement was at the network rate. The same with respect to diagnostic testing, X-ray examinations, as well as MRIs. Through these two simple changes, it would actually improve access to care, which was the goal in the first place. And with respect to Part DD, I understand the concept, but it should be the workers' compensation carrier that's actually the primary payer, as in cases where there is private health insurance and there is a controverted claim. The workers' compensation carrier would be able to seek reimbursement from the private health insurance carrier at that point, providing the coverage that we need, as well as providing a fund for the workers' compensation carrier if it's found to be an injury not in the course of someone's employment, to actually have the ability to go back at the private insurance carrier to seek that reimbursement. By doing it the way the governor did it, which I think is the reason why it was removed from the proposal in the first place, you have differences in rates where the private carrier is actually paying at a higher rate than workers' compensation rate. So by flipping it, you can accomplish the same thing, but in a much more effective way.
Thank you. Assembly?
Assemblymember Carroll.
Thank you, Chairs, and thank you for being here today. I have reviewed the budget, and I'm satisfied, first of all, Assemblymember Patrick Carroll, 96th District. But reviewing the proposals, I'm certainly think it's a good budget for the people of the 96th District in Rockland County that I represent. Did want to highlight a couple of key points that I was happy to see in there. First and foremost, to echo my colleague, Senator Scarcella Spanton, the increases in veteran services, $2.4 million in funding over the executive. I thought that was a good add. And then some of the adds to the Department of Civil Service, including extending the fee waiver on civil service exams and dealing with the retirement of several subsets of police officers, including 20-year retirement for correctional officers in New York City Police, as well as increasing the last years of rank and pay rate for the detectives, sergeants, and lieutenants. I feel like they're greatly needed in order to retain those professionals through the end of their career, so there's not a hole in the department. So thank you all, and I look forward to passing a good budget.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Senator Ramos?
Thank you, Senator Prasad. I'm very proud to be a member of a legislature that is really tackling the affordability of our state head on, and there is no place where that holds true more than the Human Services and Labor Work Group. Some of the highlights for me this year are our second attempt at tackling temporary disability insurance reform so that we can help workers who are struggling with temporary disabilities be able to have a better benefit than the $170 that was set back in 1989. There's also a provision to create a first in the state universal basic income for some of our poorest expectant mothers across the state, which is the Baby Bucks bill, which would provide a $1,000 stipend to mothers in their last 3 months of pregnancy and in the first 18 months of the child's life. We are also doing away with the minimum wage requirement in order to access child care subsidies in New York State. We're creating a veteran-owned business registry, and in tackling workers' comp reform, pushing for injured workers' right to call for a hearing with the Workers' Compensation Board, unemployment insurance for striking workers, and of course, we continue to tackle the biggest crime in New York State that nobody likes to talk about, which is wage theft, making sure that there is a tool, a stronger tool for workers to be able to recover the wages that have been stolen from them by creating a process in which workers can put a lien on employers' assets until they're paid every dime that is owed. Thank you, everyone, for your work.
Thank you. Assembly?
Assemblymember Marr.
Thank you. I am absolutely honored to be here to speak on behalf of the Assembly Minority Conference. As we enter the final stages in our budget negotiations, we would like to collectively urge the importance of our five-way negotiation discussions taking place. We believe this is important to ensure the diverse perspectives of all New Yorkers and that they are fully represented throughout this process. And when it comes to just that notion, it's important to state some of those specific cases. We are very pleased to see that the governor and our legislative majority leadership have included key ideas from our legislative child care package, such as the substitute child care pool, child care tax credit expansion, and funding for alternative hours and regional cost factor models. Also, on a personal level, conversations born from the bipartisan discussions that I've enjoyed with our chair and our Senate, leading to our fiscal cliffs bill, have really, I think, helped spearhead that Monroe County benefit cliffs model, which we hope and will continue to advocate for. And we believe for those reasons and many more, that it will be of great value to include our minority leadership in the discussions moving forward and in future years. And I just want to hope by saying I look forward to working together through an open and transparent process to enact an on-time budget that exercises fiscal restraint and addresses the affordability crisis impacting all New Yorkers.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go to Assemblymember Molitor, please.
Thank you very much for permitting me to speak. And again, I'd also like to speak on behalf of the Assembly Minority Conference and echo just a couple of things that some other members have said. First, we are happy to see that the state has proposed to repay the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund instead of unjustly saddling our small businesses with this burden, which is something that our conference has proposed over the last few years. Second, while we're certainly happy that veteran benefits have increased in the one-house budget, we are definitely frustrated that the governor reduces veteran benefits every year as a negotiating tactic, and we wish that that would stop. No one wants to see veteran benefits lost. And then finally, in my time as a former prosecutor, I've seen many cases where an adolescent offender or juvenile offender had been rearrested for repeat offenses. Really, it was a cry for help. I've seen adolescent and juvenile offenders complete the family court process after being charged with a serious crime and then rearrested for a new crime, a new serious crime, once they become an adult. And it's usually not a very short period of time after they become an adult that they have been rearrested for that crime. I've seen young people stabbed, shot, and even killed. I've seen communities and businesses terrified of an adolescent offender or juvenile offender that has been arrested and released, even though the court has committed that person to a youth detention facility, and that person is released because there was not services or beds available. And so what I would encourage everyone to think about is that we use the almost $1 billion appropriated for Raise the Age services statewide, instead of giving them to our local communities to figure out what to do with them, that we come up with some statewide system so that we can both protect our youth and our communities. I think we should have that balance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So before I turn it over to my colleague first, before we close, I just wanted to say, the Senate one-house budget was a robust proposal, and it includes some of the things that are not necessarily here at this table, but it affects the human services and labor workforce. And that's the 7.8% human services COLA. We have spoken about the COLA over and over and over, and I think we have to continue speaking about a COLA. And this year's COLA, we've also asked for it to cover approximately 20 new state contracts, which include the domestic violence programs, the rape crisis programs, independent living centers, the New York State supportive housing programs, and the maternal, infant, and early childhood home visiting programs. So these are some of very, very important programs. And this COLA for this population is at the health table, but it's important that us at the human service table discuss this. We've also included restoration of legislative ads, for example, for DAP, NOEP, and Welfare to Careers and other programs. We are also nearly doubling the funding for summer youth employment to $100 million. Every year we're asking for additional funding so that every youth across New York State who needs a job should have a job, and that we fund that. We're also looking for a year-round, robust employment program for our youth. We're also including $250 million for the housing access voucher program, something that's discussed at the Human Services table, but also, which is not funded there, but it's funded at the housing table, but it's something that's very important to the Human Services sector. We're including $2 million for local and regional diaper banks. The Senate has also added Article 7 language to create the quarterly $80 diaper allowance for income-eligible families. with newborns through the age of 2, something that we've been asking for a number of years now, and we're hopeful that this will be the year that we get it across the line. We're also including $500,000 to fund the benefits cliff study to be undertaken by a task force. This is something that we know that we have to tackle. There are too many people who are falling off the cliff when they're receiving benefits and they're unable to receive a salary increase from their employers, and that is something in New York State we must end. We do not intend to keep people in poverty, and if we do not find the reason for people falling off the cliff, people will continue to live in poverty, something that is unacceptable across New York State. And we've included the necessary fix to allow individuals who are transitioning off public assistance after completing a job training program to retain their benefits for 6 months and to earn up to 400% of the federal poverty. And finally, we've included $6.5 million for SNAP Healthy incentive program, something that's very important to us in the human services. There are many things that remain open. You know, we've also included funding for eviction prevention also for folks who are in shelters, and for eviction forestallment. These are very important things to us in human services. And there are many things that remain open, but we will continue to work so that we close those open items and ensure that the budget that's enacted covers everything that should be there for the human services task workforce. So I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Assemblymember Hevesy.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you to all my colleagues and everybody here. I'm going to be relatively brief, but I want to piggyback off of the comments you just made about the importance of the 7.8% COLA. I will remind everybody the reason why we need a COLA is the last governor refused to do COLAs. Okay, just put that on the record. I can't resist. So I do also believe 4% of that COLA actually needs to go directly to the workforce. And I do want to mention a different topic that I think has the potential to do the most good in human services. It's not at this table, but the Working Families Tax Credit. You can lift tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids and families out of poverty. That's what government is about. That's what we should be doing. A couple other topics I want to touch on. Raise the age. Assemblymember Molitor, I want to thank you for your comments. Just a couple of notes. So first, you are absolutely right that we need more money for services. The Assembly will be putting in $100 million towards that. We will also going to be entertaining a program that is run out of Monroe County that we've seen success on, but I want to make sure that while we're trying something new, that we fund $50 million to the Innovation Fund, which gets money directly to our community programs. That is a Solage bill. I think that's hugely important. I also don't want to miss the opportunity to say that New York City has never been able to draw down on Raise the Age Fund because the last governor said they couldn't, New York City couldn't have those funds. Let me switch to childcare. Childcare is interesting this year. First of all, the need is for the workforce. None of us are confused about the need is for the workforce. I hope we can take care of that this year if possible. If not, certainly next year at the latest. I want to thank my Senate colleagues for putting in $500 million. Without that or some version of that, this will be the first cut that the child care workforce received since the pandemic, which is really just an outrage. In addition, New York City needs another $900 million as of this week. It was $2 billion last week, but we'll see what they need to close that gap. Couple more and then I'm done, my friend. Sorry for dragging this on. $100 million for the after-school network. After-school programs is crucially important. We want to focus on the fact that there were about 3,000 kids from high school age who didn't receive an opportunity to go to after-school programs because we did a transition to the LEAPS program last year. If we keep this $100 million, we'll be able to get those 3,000 kids back, plus about 40,000, well, 37,000 others, if I can do the math correctly. So that's crucially important. Plus, here's a small one, but I'd like to throw this on the record. The after-school network is in need of $175,000. It's a small amount of money, but they provide a fantastic service, so we'd like them to continue. And just some other smaller ones. First of all, thank you to the governor and the Senate and the Assembly for CACs, Child Advocacy Centers, hugely important. And then let me finish with a plug for 3 different programs we'll get to later on when we get to the table targets, but Parent Child Plus, the Dolly Parton Library, and our YMCAs, which are hugely important when we're dealing with childcare. They're looking for $5 million. So a lot to do, but we have the potential to make one of the best budgets I've seen since I've gotten here. So I thank all of my colleagues for their time and their participation today.
Thank you very much. So again, thank you everyone for coming. And the Senate, we look forward to working with the Assembly and the Executive to ensure that we have an enacted budget, an on-time enacted budget that meets the needs of all New Yorkers. Thank you, everyone. This concludes our meeting.
Thank you.